Welcome to HEPFest, a week-long online festival for students, parents, carers, teachers and advisors. HEP is a partnership between the University of Sheffield and Sheffield Hallam University, which aims to encourage more young people and adults to consider higher education opportunities. It also delivers South Yorkshire's UniConnect programme HEPSI in partnership with local schools and colleges. I'd like to thank you all for coming along to this particular session, which is focused on where higher education can take you and the benefits of higher education. It is going to be recorded and it will focus on the speaker rather than the gallery view. If everyone could have their mics muted throughout the session, unless they are presenting, that would be great. So it's a pleasure to introduce two of HEPSI's higher education engagement assistants, Audie and Jack, who will be talking to you this afternoon about where higher education can lead you. And we've also got a couple of student ambassadors who are going to join in and give their valuable insights into what it's like at higher education. As I had said before, if you want to post any questions in the chat as the session goes on, that would be great. And we will make sure that the presenters are made aware of your question. So over to you, Audie and Jack.
Fab. Thank you, Jamie. Afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's well. Yeah, welcome to HEPFest. As Jamie mentioned, this session is going to be about where can higher education take you. I'm Audie. As Jamie mentioned, I'm a higher education engagement assistant for HEPSI. Hopefully some of you have heard of us before, but for those of you who haven't, just a little bit more information about us as an organisation. We work with schools and colleges all across South Yorkshire with thousands of students, and it's essentially our job to help them make informed choices about university or higher level skills studies so that hopefully they can get to where they want to go. This activity is going to cover how to appreciate the academic and other advantages of the higher education institutions where you would like to study, which hopefully we think you'll like. The session outcome for today is to appreciate why some higher education providers have more academic advantages than others, to help you make a choice that is the right fit for you. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through a little bit about what higher education is. We're going to be looking at the advantages of going into higher education, and then we're going to look at where it can actually take you. And we're going to do this through some graduate stories through past and present colleagues from HEPSI. So without further ado, just to set the scene and just to give you guys a little bit of context on what we mean when we speak about higher education, what we've got on screen now is we've got a pyramid of education and it shows the different stages. And essentially what we mean when we speak about higher education is that top section right at the top of the pyramid. So you might be able to identify where you guys are in the pyramid now. So at the start, you've got your secondary education, so they're your GCSEs. Then you've got your further education. You might go to a sixth form or a college for this, and you can study a range of qualifications there. And then higher education comes after that. And you'll notice it's when you are 18 and above. So that's just to set the scene and hopefully give you guys a little bit more context on where higher education falls within your educational journey. Just give you a little bit more information about what higher education actually is. You guys might already know this, great, but for those of you who don't have any idea at all, that's also fine, as this is what we're going to be going through in this session today. So when we speak about higher education, we mean it's a programme of study at level 4 or above, and all that really means is that it comes after your further education, so after your college or sixth form. And higher education institutions include universities, but they can also include colleges as well, and also apprenticeships in some instances. So I know that when I was in school and someone mentioned higher education to me, I just thought it was university, but there's actually a wide range of different institutions where you can study higher education. Once you get into higher education as well, there's different qualifications, and then there's a different journey once you get past that top section in the pyramid. So when you get into higher education, you generally do an undergraduate degree or bachelor's degree. It's the most common kind of route. For me, that's what I did. I did a degree in history, which you guys are going to be finding a little bit more information about later on. And then after that, if you decide to carry on studying within academia, you do have the opportunity to study a master's or a postgraduate degree, which comes after your initial qualification that you'll study. And then after that, if you still want to carry on within academia, you can then do a PhD or a doctorate. And this means that you can call yourself a doctor after you've completed that, which, you know, not only sounds snazzy, but it also gives you the accolades to say that you've really studied a subject in depth as well. So before we move on, I want you guys to just think about what you already know about higher education. And if you can, try and identify one advantage of higher education. Why might going into higher education be beneficial to you further down the line? If we could get answers in chat, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And then we can feedback and yeah, find a little bit more about why higher education might be a good idea. Jack, if you're all right to facilitate that, please, that'd be fantastic.
Yep, no problem. Cheers, Audie. So yeah, if any answers do come through in chat, please do share them. But one that I can just sort of think of on the top of my head, and a big thing that probably attracted me to wanting to go and study a degree was the amount of free time I would get sort of based around my studies, because I was so in school, like, put off by the idea of always, you know, continuing being in a lesson format the entire time, that I chose to study a course that had basically no restrictive timetable. So I was able to do what I wanted when I wanted on it in the sort of, because I did a fine art degree, you see. So yeah, that's just one answer that I can think of. But yeah.
I can definitely echo that as well. Higher education, particularly university, it's not like school where you have to be in every day. You do have quite a lot of free time, and obviously it's down to you guys to manage that responsibly so that you are doing your studying, but it also gives you a lot of opportunities to get involved in loads of different things, and I definitely found that to be a big part of my university experience as well. Our student ambassador, is that the same for you guys currently studying? Do you have quite a lot of free time as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got nothing back through in the chat yet, Audie. I don't know if there's any others that you can think of as well.
There's absolutely loads of advantages to higher education. I think as well, a lot of people tend to think that it's really beneficial towards careers and opening a lot of doors, and that is completely true. But there's also other advantages which you guys might not be aware of, which we are going to go through in a second. No worries if we haven't got anything in chat. Hopefully you've managed to have a think to yourselves, or you've discussed within your classrooms. That's absolutely fine. So just quickly moving on then, we're just going to show you a very short video on the benefits of higher education, and hopefully you guys have managed to identify some advantages in this video, but also you might be able to learn some new ones as well. So hopefully you should be able to hear this all right.
When you finish school or college at 18, there are lots of options available to you. This can be both overwhelming and confusing, so it's important to take the time to look into each option and decide what's best for you. One option is higher education. The most common form of higher education is a degree studied at university. But did you know you can also study a degree at some colleges, or take a degree apprenticeship instead? No matter what subject you're interested in, and whether you consider yourself to be an academic or practical learner, there is a higher education option for you. So, why should you consider higher education? There are many benefits to higher education, which can be broken down into three main areas: career, financial, and personal. If you already know what career you're interested in, then that's fantastic. But it's important to know that some careers require specific higher education qualifications. So if you're interested in becoming a lawyer, teacher, doctor, or even an astronaut, then you will need a degree. Even if you're not sure what you want to do in the future, that's okay. It can be difficult to decide. But statistics shows that having a degree-level qualification can improve your job prospects, even in careers not directly related to your studies. And the practical experience you can gain through higher education, from placements, work experience, or volunteering, can help you stand out from other candidates when you apply for jobs. As your career opportunities expand with higher education, so do your potential financial earnings. University graduates typically earn more than £100,000 more in their lifetime than non-graduates. If university isn't for you, you can earn whilst you learn through a higher or degree apprenticeship. And if you do well in your apprenticeship, it is likely that your employer will keep you on when you're fully qualified. You'll also have gained years of experience during an apprenticeship, as well as the qualification, making you highly employable. You can gain valuable knowledge and qualifications through higher education, as well as develop your personal skills, such as learning to become self-motivated and resilient, improving social and communication skills, and becoming more confident. If you choose to move away from home, it's a great opportunity to become more independent, learn how to manage your time and money, and maybe even learn to cook and iron. Higher education is a great way to make new friends and discover new interests. Universities offer a wealth of different societies, from rugby and football to knitting and tea drinking. These are just a few of the many benefits of higher education. If you'd like to find out more, visit our website at www.hep.ac.uk.
Fab. So hopefully that video is giving you guys just a bit more insight into the advantages of higher education. As you can see, there's quite a varied selection of advantages when it comes to studying within higher education. And I want you to consider these just as we're going through the rest of the presentation as well. So fab. If you do want some more information when it comes to the kind of routes and how to get into higher education, as well as finding out a bit more about the potential benefits as well, then we do have our higher education progression advisors who you can contact via our website at hepsi.org/chat. And these are the experts really when it comes to how to get there and steps you can take, as well as giving you information about, you know, jobs and careers and all that kind of thing. So I just wanted to signpost those whilst we're talking about what higher education is and why it's beneficial as well. So we've looked at what higher education is, we've looked at why it might be beneficial. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at what studying at higher education looks and feels like, where it can take you after you've completed higher education. And as I mentioned, to do this, we're going to go through some graduate stories from both myself and Jack, but also some past and present HEPSI colleagues as well, who have all got some interesting stories about their opportunities that they had within higher education. First up, we've got our wonderful colleague Jacob, who studied a degree in journalism, and he said that studying this degree in journalism gave him the opportunity to attend music and photography at various different festivals, which, you know, it sounds like quite a good laugh to me. He got involved in lots of social events as well. So, you know, higher education is not just studying constantly, it can be quite sociable and quite fun as well. And he also gained some part-time work and work experience alongside his studies, you know, which is really beneficial. And just focusing on that kind of career and work experience that Jacob managed to get involved in, there's lots of advantages to this when it comes to, you know, doing this alongside higher education. So some of these might be transferable skills. So these are skills that you can take with you into lots of different job roles and lots of different walks of life. These can be things such as communication skills, time management, generally being organised. All these are going to aid you in whatever you're doing in your kind of, not only your educational journey, but also in your journey when it comes to the world of work and stuff as well. Again, work experience is something a lot of employers look for these days. So if you can get involved in work experience, it's always a good idea. Higher education does provide you the opportunity to get involved in work experience, maybe as part of your course or something else attributed with, you know, the higher education institution that you're studying at. And yeah, it's just a really good thing to get under your belt when it comes to applying for jobs and you know, starting to make your way within the world of work. Financial benefits, obviously, if you have work experience and if you're working, then that's going to open a lot of doors to you to earning a bit of money, you know, which is, you know, always beneficial. And then networking as well, getting to, you know, find lots of new contacts within lots of different fields is only going to aid you when it comes to, you know, finding opportunities and opening doors for yourself as well. Is there anything you'd add to that at all, Jack? Or
Yeah, I'm just to say that these are all different things that employers in the future will be looking at with significance as well. So being able to develop them as early as possible inside an opportunity like higher education can really help you sort of boost your chances of getting picked for that sort of job role that you might be aspiring to get. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers for that, Jack. So that's Jacob. Next up, we've got Sabrina. So Sabrina studied a degree in film and media production, and she was able to get involved in some really exciting opportunities. So in her second year of university, she was able to go to the Berlin Film Festival, if you have anyone who's interested in films. She also joined the women's American flag football team and placed third and second in the Opal tournament, you know, which sounds great. And then as part of this American flag football team, she also went to Germany to play in a European flag tournament, and she was selected to play for the Great Britain Development Squad, which, you know, sounds amazing. And it just shows that, as well as studying and career benefits as well, that if you are into sports and extracurricular activities, then higher education can be a really good way to get involved in those as well and take it to the next level. So competing in Germany and, you know, getting involved in the Great Britain squad and stuff like that, you know, these are all amazing opportunities which probably came about as a result of getting involved in the university sports teams and stuff. So thinking about these extracurricular activities, it's really important to research, you know, the benefits of a specific institution. And it's now easier than ever to do this. We've got lots of different websites. One we've listed here is Prospects, which is a great resource to look at specific institutions and see what they've got on offer, such as their Students' Union, which is essentially a hub run by students for students, and there's lots of services provided there, as well as social events. The different societies that might be available there. What we mean by societies is they're essentially clubs that you can get involved in, and there's probably a society for most things you can think of. I know that when I were at uni, I had to walk through a park to get to my lectures, and there were people playing Quidditch, the sport of Harry Potter, so there were loads of people running around with sticks in between their legs playing Quidditch, and that was the Quidditch Society. That's just an example that if you've got a hobby and a passion, there's probably going to be a society for it somewhere. There also might be courses that are unique to that institution as well, and there might be some courses that you can't study anywhere else, so it's worth having a look. And then also the facilities in the town/city centre, particularly if you do decide to move away from home like I did, because essentially that's where you're going to be living for the next 3-4 years of your life whilst you study. Yeah, anything to add to that at all, Jack? Or?
Yeah, just an extra point on that idea of a unique course. While you do your research and go out to try and find what is available out there, you really might stumble across some really interesting ones. So one that I came across more recently was Sheffield Hallam University in particular, one of the first universities in the country to be doing esports management. So that might be quite popular with a lot of students coming through. And also, like, if you're interested in like coastal sort of stuff, there's in Cornwall, there's a I think it's a surfing dynamics course that you can study as well. So yeah,
so yeah, just like societies, there's lots and lots of different courses out there, and some really interesting and unique ones. If we have any surfers about, then yeah, Cornwall's clearly the place to go for surf science and stuff. But yeah, fab, thanks for that, Jack. So next up, we've got Bryony, who studied a degree in French and Hispanic studies, and this gave Bryony the opportunity to spend a year abroad studying, getting involved in student ambassador roles, like the student ambassadors we've got here today. Again, like Jacob as well, she got involved in part-time jobs throughout her studies, and then she went on to study a master's in French studies. So do you remember the higher education journey we showed you at the start? She went on to the next step after that. I'm following on from this brings us on to another opportunity on where higher education can take you. And some courses do offer the opportunity to study abroad. And currently, all these countries you can study and spend a year abroad, like Bryony did, studying various different courses. I know that for me and my course, I'll come into this in a little bit later on, but I had the opportunity to study in either America or Australia for a year, a partner university. I weren't too keen on Australia. I'm scared of spiders. There's massive spiders over there, so I thought best avoid Australia. And to be honest, at the time I didn't really fancy America, but looking back, that's probably definitely something I would have, relished and took advantage of. Did you have
just to add? Yeah, I was just going to say, to add, Audie, likewise, I did have the opportunity to study abroad, and I was looking in Berlin in Germany for quite a while, but then I just decided that I was just happy studying in Sheffield still. So it is completely up to you if you do choose to take an opportunity like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No one's saying you have to jet off around the world, but it is a really good optional opportunity if you decide to take that up. Like, the opportunity is there. And this chap looks familiar. So yeah, this is me. I had shorter hair back then, it must be said, but I studied a degree in history. I went to Leeds, but I am from Sheffield originally. I wanted to go to another big city, and I decided that Leeds were quite a nice distance away from home, that my parents couldn't come and bother me every weekend, but it was still close enough for me to nip back and have a Sunday dinner and bring some washing for my mum, which I'm sure she were appreciative of. But again, I had some really good opportunities studying history, so I managed to find out more about a subject that I loved. history were always my favourite subjects throughout school, and that's why I decided to study it at higher education. And I managed to, really find out more about different aspects of history, which I'd not really had the opportunity to study before. I learned to live independently. So as I mentioned, I moved away from home. I was a bit of a mummy's boy when I was 18, it must be said. I didn't really know how to cook or clean, so I had to learn how to do them things. Started off with beans and toast at first, and then I progressed during my 3 years at university, and now I'd like to say I'm okay at cooking. And I also made friends for life as well. So if you can see the photo at the bottom, which is the cliche cap throwing picture, all those people in that photo I'm still in contact with now. We still meet up, and I am confident that I will be friends with those guys for life. And yeah, genuinely just had a really good, enjoyable 3 years in Leeds, and got to develop as a person and had lots of opportunities arise. Something I just want to touch on as well is at my university, there was certain bursaries for students who achieve 3 A's at A level, just as an example, and that were essentially free money given to students who managed to achieve those grades. But it's worth saying that most institutions will have something like this, so it is worth doing your research. There might be certain awards or post-graduation bursaries and scholarships, and essentially a lot of the time they are either free money or equipment given to you just for specific requirements. So they could be talent-based. You might get a scholarship if you're really good at sport. You might, get involved in a partnership with an employer, for instance. Again, I've touched on that academic achievement. Some institutions give extra money if you've done really well at your further education, and then also household circumstances as well. So, for instance, if you're the first member of your family to go to university, some institutions might offer a scholarship or bursary for that. I know that for me, I was the first member of my family to go to university as well, and some institutions, when I was doing my research, did offer that extra that extra support, just because I fit that criteria. But as I said, it is worth doing your research because there's lots out there. Fab. Anything you want to add to that, Jack?
No, and I think this, because my slide's next, so I know this ties really nicely into my next point. So if you'd just like to go on to the next bit. Cheers. Thank you. Yeah, so thinking of back when I started university, one of the main reasons for me wanting to attend university was that I wanted to make myself as employable as I possibly could be in the art sector at the time. So I'd studied a degree in fine art in the hopes that it would raise sort of my experience, provide me with some qualifications, sort of have some backing from as well. And out of that, I got an award straight after finishing to receive a sort of self-employment bursary, which sort of links really nice into what Audie was just talking about there. So basically my bursary came after I finished, which I didn't even know could happen. I didn't know there would be like such a thing as what I now know to be Alumni Support for those who are graduating already. And whilst I was working on they sort of gave me a studio and sort of a sort of living wage for like a couple of months to make some artwork. And whilst I was doing that, the university shared one of my artworks through their social media channels, and Mercedes-Benz Limited got in contact with me to basically ask me to make an artwork for one of their cars that they were going to be launching in the country. After this, sort of, I'd started getting more opportunities coming towards me, and I think that's where it all started, where it literally did come because I was able to sort of go and practice as being an artist for 3 years and develop my experience and develop all those things that I wanted to do. So it did sort of all fall quite nicely after what I'd sort of hoped happened, sort of happened. But yeah, cheers. And on the next slide as well, thinking about alumni support a little bit more. Yeah, so what you're able to do with these alumni support groups is many higher education centres offer these groups, and what they are is they're basically extra post-graduation support, which are based on the individual that seeks that sort of helps specific needs. And this basically allows them to do a number of things, which are access the resources that are still available at the university. So they become what is known as an associate member to the university, to access their online resources such as the library. They can seek self-employment support like I did, be able to get a bit of work, so you can go and do something that you've been sort of aiming towards whilst you were studying on your course. You can also access some bonus funding and business support via their careers hub. And you can also access a lifelong career support, which I've definitely been contacted by non-stop since I finished, which are always offering updates to career support, which some have been really beneficial for me to helping pick some options moving forward as well. And finally, if you're also interested in going on to postgraduate study, like a number of our EAs that we've talked about on these previous slides did, like such as Sabrina, who went on to do masters, you can basically get some additional guidance around this from the university, and they might even be able to introduce you to a scholarship or something that you might not have been aware of that you might qualify for as well. So lots of different alumni support there. Back to you, Audie.
Yeah, Fab, thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely. I just echo everything you said, and just to give an extra example. When I graduated, I was kind of in a bit of a panic. I was like, okay, I've finished school now. I've gone to university. I've got a degree, but now what? You know, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I had a meeting with our careers advisors at Leeds Beckett, and it really just, you know, laid out all my options on the table, and they gave me some general tips and advice. And if I wanted to, I've still got access to that career support, even though I finished university in 2018. So yeah, really good alumni support as well. It's not like they just, after you've got your degree, it's not like they just kick you out and then, you know, never speak to you again. Like there's lots of, you know, different support networks on offer there. So Fab. So we've looked at what higher education is. We've looked at the benefits of higher education. We've looked at where it might fit into your educational journey. And we've looked at some real life examples of what higher education looks and feels like. And we've discussed the opportunities that can be made available to you when you start studying within higher education. And hopefully you guys have started thinking about where higher education might take you after that. So going back to the start then, after hearing some graduate stories and some amazing opportunities that some of our fellow colleagues have been involved in, what I want you guys to do is to try and give one new advantage of higher education that you've learned today. And if it can be different to the one that you put in earlier or you thought of earlier, that'd be fantastic. Again, if we can get some answers in the chat, that'd be absolutely amazing. If teachers are with a class, if they could facilitate that, again, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, thank you. We'll just give you a couple of minutes to try and think of.
As well, just I don't also want to know if any of the student ambassadors might want to share anything that they might have experienced that we've not sort of mentioned as much today. So feel free to jump in.
I can't think of anything else, but I found it really interesting about the post degree bursary that you got. That's really interesting, something I didn't know about, so it's something that people should definitely keep an eye on and keep in mind if they are deciding whether to do a degree or not, because it shows that you get the support post university as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to sort of add to that point as well, like I literally didn't know until I'd literally finished my degree. So I was just browsing Sheffield Hallam's sort of alumni hub that they've got, which is where I studied, and I literally miraculously came across the opportunity. So it was really lucky, but I also think that like if I sort of did still need the degree to be able to access that thing as well. So it was completely really useful straight away for me. So yeah.
Yeah, so that shows the importance of doing your research, doesn't it? Do we have anything coming through in chat at all? Or
nothing come through yet, Audie?
Not yet. Well, I'll give you another minute or so, and then yeah, we'll just round up and just recap exactly what we've gone through today. But yeah, it's mentioned, you know, in the video we showed earlier and through our kind of graduate stories as well. The advantages, you know, there's quite a range to them. I think the biggest advantage for me is, like, as well as my career, I couldn't be here speaking to you guys today if I'd not gone into higher education, but also just that learning how to do everyday things were absolutely massive for me. And moving away from home really brought me out of my shell as a person, you know, gave me that extra little bit of confidence. I was quite shy once upon a time, but, you know, moving away and living in Leeds for 3 years definitely brought me out of my shell. Fab. Anything in chat, Jack?
Nothing yet, mate.
No problem. Well, hopefully you guys have managed to discuss, or you've managed to think about a new advantage that you've learned today. That brings us to the close of this session. There is going to be some time for Q&A with our student ambassadors who are living and breathing, you know, being a student and studying within higher education. But just to go back to our session outcome, so hopefully you guys can now appreciate why some higher education providers have more academic advantages than others, and hopefully that's going to help you to make the right choice for you. Some people are going to have different priorities. The benefits and advantages of certain institutions are going to appeal to people differently. So it's just important to do your research. And again, we have higher education progression advisors who we signposted earlier on, who can help you with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it from us. We hope you found your time with HEPC informative, and like I said, there is going to be some time for Q&A after. We'd like to hear from you, so please feel free to visit our website at www.hepc.org, and again, that's the link there underneath it for our higher education progression advisors. We are also on social media, so we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If people still use Facebook, but yeah, we're on them all. Feel free to reach out to us there as well. So fab, thank you for that, guys. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we've got a bit of time for Q&A. So if you do have any questions for our ambassadors who are, you know, as I said, currently living and breathing, being a student within higher education, feel free to pop those in chat. But we'd also like to hear if this session has been helpful for you guys to feel more confident when it comes to making an informed choice about higher education. So as well as any Q&A questions, please feel free to put in any reflection points you may have as well. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Audie and Jack. And I think it might be useful while people are just having to think about the things they've learned today. Perhaps in a second, if you, Audie and Jack, could think of some questions for Jessica and Oyetola, just to ask them about things that, you know, from their experience, or some insights into their journey through higher education so far, that would be quite useful, maybe just to cap off the session.
Yeah, definitely. I think one question that I could ask straight away is, how do you find sort of the hybrid learning that I guess might still exist since COVID started? With, I guess, some of your lectures are still out online now as well. If you could tell us a little bit more about how that works currently, that'd be good. Thank you.
All right. So here in Sheffield Hallam, it's a mix of virtual classes and one-on-one class. So on Monday, I have my virtual class, which is from 9 to 4. Then on Tuesday, I have to appear in class for my seminar classes. It's actually a good mix of lecture, because what is being taught in the virtual class will be more practical and more experienced when we get to the seminar class. So it's like a recap of what we had on Monday, which is the virtual class. So getting to school on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had a seminar, which will be a recap on the topic that is being taught on Monday. So it's actually a good mix of learning and teaching. It helps students to know more and to understand better. Yeah. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah, really insightful. And as well, like, I didn't have any experience when I was studying of I think all my lectures were done either in person, and I don't think I had any virtual experience. So that's quite nice that university is giving you the sort of place to exercise in those different things. But yeah, or did you want to say something as well?
I was just going to say, yeah, again, really interesting to see how it's kind of turned into something that kind of utilizes the best of both worlds, which, you know, I think is really nice. Is that something you'd echo as well, Jess, or is it a similar experience for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the University of Sheffield, we are fully face-to-face again now, so we have been for the whole year from September. But I do think there have been benefits to being online as well. It's taught, well, we've all learned along the way, haven't we? It's a new skill we've all learned to present online, still make connections while you're online. But also, I have enjoyed being back in person because it's given me a chance to actually meet people from my course. But yeah, I see benefits to both sides, and it's been interesting, but I think it's given us all skills that we need for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Again, really insightful. I suppose just something I'm curious about. So obviously we've mentioned the benefits of higher education when it comes to career and earning potential. And we touched on, extracurricular activities and societies and things like that. So I'd just be interested to hear if you guys are involved in any societies or extracurricular things alongside your current studies. And if not, is there anything what you might quite like to get involved in?
Okay, so in Sheffield Hallam, I'm currently studying my master's degree in human resource management. So there is an HR group where they invite people with industry experience to come in and speak with us as students. So to prepare us ahead of our career and what to expect after our master's degree in school. So it's actually a learning platform which is going to serve as a foundation for us to have a practical experience or practical knowledge per se of what it entails to be an HR manager, not only the theoretical part that is being taught in class, but bringing it in how to imbibe the theory into the practical aspects of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds really great to give you that real world application alongside your studies as well. Yeah, fantastic. Jess, what about yourself? Are you involved in anything or?
Yeah, well, I did the typical Freshers Week, signed up to as much as I could, and then basically dropped everything. But I'm still part of the Philosophy and the Politics Society because I do a Politics and Philosophy degree, and I'm also part of a volunteering society for philosophy where we go and teach people who don't normally get to engage in philosophy, so like homeless hostels, rehabilitation centres. So that's been good because, well, firstly, I really enjoy it, and secondly, it's taught me skills that I can put on my CV, and I potentially might want to go into teaching so I can say, look, I've made lesson plans before, I've taught a class of people. So yeah, societies can be fun, but they can also like really help with your future prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. And that all sounds great. And you guys are also obviously student ambassadors as well, which is a great thing. It really helps us out having people who are there currently. In terms of Freshers Week, for those who don't know what that is, essentially that is the first couple of weeks at a university, and they have something called Freshers Fair, which is what Jess mentioned, that you can sign up to lots and lots of different societies and lots of different clubs, get lots of free stuff, which is always nice. And for me, I got quite a lot of free pizza, and yeah, I did the same. I signed up to pretty much every society and then barely went on any, but the opportunity was there for me to get involved in lots of other stuff. But yeah, fab. Jack, I'm not sure if you have any other questions at all before we round off.
I did sort of think of one point when we were talking about societies actually, and that was maybe sometimes, well, it's not something I certainly thought about before I went to university, but they can actually give you some sort of, you could sort of see it as like financial help when it comes to going on different trips and stuff. So I went on a trip to Berlin as part of my arts course in my second year of studies, and one of my best mates really wanted to come, but they were studying economics or something similar, so they wouldn't have got the sort of subsidized rate that we would have got for being able to go on that course in terms of pay. They would have had to do it all outside of it, but because they joined the art society, they were able to sort of get a collective together who could sort of subsidize the cost of the group. So he was still able to come on that trip basically for the same much as me, and without actually attending the course and getting that sort of discount applied to it. So there are little neat tricks and tips that can be built up in these societies as well that can be quite useful during your studies, basically.
Absolutely, yeah, happy days. I've got another question, guys. This might be a bit of a cliche question because I know I've been asked this quite a lot before, but if you could give people considering higher education one tip to help the transition just go a bit smoother into it, what would it be?
I'd say look out for what your local universities or colleges are running. See if you can go on any taster days, see if they do any taster lectures, or even schemes that you can be part of for like a couple of years. Because I did 2 schemes. I did one year 9 to 11 and then one in sixth form. And because I'm the first in my family to go to university, I literally knew nothing. But because of these schemes, it helped me know what to expect, really. I don't know what would have happened if I showed up on my first day of university and I hadn't have gone to these schemes. I'd have been like a little lost puppy. I wouldn't have even known that uni was in different buildings. I'd have expected it to be like school. So yeah, look out for what your local higher education institutions are running, and ask your teachers as well.
Fab.
So another thing I would like to add is that your interest is a priority. What to actually have passion for and what to have interest for, because that is actually what to keep you moving. So if you get stuck, then when you have to strive to do more. Then another thing that I did while trying to pursue an higher education was my dream job. What type of job do I want to go for? That actually helped me to decide the type of course I actually am coming for into the university. So the interest, your passion, and your dream job, will actually help you to decide on what to go for.
Yeah, fab, great guys, absolutely. I echo like all of those you've just said. It's certainly something I say to students when I'm delivering, is make sure that you consider what you enjoy, because you're going to be more likely to apply yourself to it. I know that helps me to make my decision to study history. Always my favourite subject in school, so I thought if I'm going to study anything, it may as well be something I enjoyed. Was that the same for you as well, Jack, with art and stuff?
Yeah, exactly the same. It was quite coming from sort of GCSEs to A levels. I didn't actually take art at first, and I did a year of not taking it and realised that I should definitely do it. So after that, I've been art the entire way, I guess, all the way till now. So it's definitely sort of paid off, and I've got lots of exciting opportunities from just following that passion. So yeah.
Fab, good stuff.
Thanks for that, everybody. Thanks for that. I think there's one more slide, Audie, I think, to cap it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you very much to all the schools and the students who attended that live. Thanks, Audie and Jack, for presenting, and thanks, Jess and Oyetola, for giving us your very current and valuable insights into your student experience, and also where you hope it's going to lead you in HR or even teaching, Jess. So yeah, very valuable insights from all four of you, and I'm sure people will find that really valuable, whether they attended live or whether they watched the recording. So I'm going to end the session there. Thank you very much again, and have a good rest of the week.
Thank you, guys.